The FBI has confirmed that we could lose both water and electricity due to attacks that are going to be inspired by the terrorist group of Hamas. And let me just say, guys, things are becoming much more dangerous for us here at home. Now, this leads to a lot of us to question, what preparations should we be doing right now? Should we be getting a generator? Should we be stocking up on water and food? Now, one thing is for sure, this is something that everybody should be aware of.
We also cannot and do not discount the possibility that Hamas or another foreign terrorist organization may exploit the current conflict to conduct attacks here on our own soil. The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level. We assess that the actions of Hamas and its allies will serve as an inspiration, the likes of which we haven't seen since ISIS launched its so-called caliphate several years ago.
We're supposed to be surprised by this, Tiana? We got a wide open border. How could you attribute all of this and the idea that a terrorist attack is going to happen here just to the Hamas attacks?
Wray also said that the attacks from Hamas may inspire the greatest U.S. terror threat since ISIS. And, well, that wasn't a very good time for Americans, was it? A lot of people still blame Hillary Clinton for that. Now, if you were to believe the FBI with this, given that they're warning us about attacks to our water supply, electricity, and even our cyberspace, then yes, this is probably going to be the biggest threat to our country since ISIS. Now, with that, I have a simple question. Are you confident with the current leadership that we have? And I mean that in terms of leading us out of this mess, all right? While at the same time keeping Americans inside and outside of this country safe. Just comment a quick yes or no down in the comments for that one. And since you guys are down there, don't forget to smash the like button for the video. Also subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications so that you do not miss out on any of these important updates that, let's face it guys, updates that every single American should know about. So I appreciate that, guys. Now, on that note, the United States is just one of very few countries that support Israel's war with Hamas. I mean, besides the United States and Israel, only 12 other countries voted against a humanitarian truce in Gaza, making it look as if the U.S. wants the war to keep going.
While insisting they were working to get aid into Gaza,
those against?
The United States, standing alone, blocked the Security Council from passing a resolution that would do just that. The U.S. ambassador insisted that the draft was incomplete.
The United States is disappointed this resolution made no mention of Israel's rights of self-defense. Like every nation in the world, Israel has the inherent right of self-defense as reflected in Article 51 of the UN Charter.
The resolution did condemn Hamas's October 7th attack and the taking of civilian hostages, as well as demanding pauses in the fighting for aid deliveries. After several days of negotiations, 12 council members voted for it, many pointing out that civilians, humanitarian workers, and medical facilities must be protected under international humanitarian law.
Faced with heinous terrorist acts against Israeli civilians, with the forceful reaction to such acts and an ever-growing humanitarian disaster imposed on Gaza, the Council response we proposed was robust and balanced.
UN officials echoed the Secretary General's call for an immediate ceasefire, while warning violence could spread throughout the region.
I fear that we are at the brink of a deep and dangerous abyss that could change the trajectory of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, if not of the Middle East as a whole.
But, and here's the best part, the White House suddenly shifted gears and says that the pauses in the war are needed. Not a ceasefire, but pauses.
Earlier this week, Blinken called for humanitarian pauses in fighting to allow aid into Gaza. President Biden in Minnesota endorsed a pause to allow more time for prisoners to get out when a protester interrupted him.
Mr. President, if you care about Jewish people as a rabbi, I need you to call for a ceasefire right now.
Earlier, the president praised negotiations, which led to foreign nationals and injured Palestinians leaving Gaza for the first time since the war began.
American citizens are able to exit today as part of the first group of probably over 1,000 we'll see more of this process going on in the coming days.
Now, if we think about it in sports terms, they're just calling for timeouts to get the injured player stretchered out, and then right after that, then the game resumes, or in this case, the war. This continued support from the United States may land us in even more trouble, as the FBI is now saying that our systems, critical systems like that water and electricity, may be targeted by terrorist attacks. And that's nothing to get excited about, because those two systems, they are very core to survival for most places. Now let's talk about something very controversial that the Biden administration did recently, one that he said they would never do, and that is adding another foot to the border wall. Scratch that, a lot more than just a foot to the border wall. So just for context, this came mere weeks before the Hamas attack in Israel, so I don't know, it's a little fishy, isn't it? And then you hear the FBI talking about how Americans should prepare for attacks, and well, it's like putting two and two together, right?
The Biden administration has announced it is waiving more than 24 federal laws to add on to the border wall in southern Texas. NBC senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest. And Gabe, tell us what we know about this reversal.
Hi, Hoda. Good morning. This is a striking acknowledgement that changes are needed to stem the migrant influx at the southern border. The Department of Homeland Security waiving 26 federal laws, such as the Clean Air Act and the Safe Water Drinking Act, to allow border wall construction in Starr County, Texas. This is a major reversal for President Biden, who, during the 2020 campaign, vowed that not another foot of wall would be constructed under his administration. The president also issued a proclamation in 2021 stating that building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution. It's a waste of money that diverts attention from genuine threats to our homeland security.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but reversing any of our own words is a huge deal, especially for the president of the United States. And this is something that he was really against. And suddenly he just kind of gives the go signal. What gives? What changed between 2021 and today? Should we worry about terrorists using our borders to hide themselves in plain sight and to conduct attacks on critical U.S. infrastructure? Because that's what it looks like. And if that's the case, then they're probably going to be doing this a little bit too late. There is a silver lining though, especially if it's true. So it says here that multiple U.S. federal agencies have stressed that they haven't seen concrete intelligence that suggests that Iran is planning an imminent attack on our critical infrastructure, but that they're still watching out because there's still the possibility of it happening. Now think about it. Just how dependable are our electric and power grids? Do you think that a possible terrorist attack could cripple entire cities? I mean, we've had natural disasters cripple different parts of the country. We've had wildfires. What more could a targeted effort do? And this is why I need you guys to share this information to anyone and everyone you know. I'm not saying that an attack on the United States is going to happen, but you can see that the tensions are running high and that we've got a target on our backs. In fact, we've had this target on our backs for a long time. I think the target has only gotten bigger though. Now, if you'd feel that much more at ease by having a backup generator, maybe some extra food and water set aside, then by all means do that. I know most preppers in my audience are kind of thinking, well, Ron, we've been preparing for this for a long time. We're ready. Bring it on. Now, the only thing about our current situation is that nothing is certain and that anything can happen at this point. So here's hoping that things don't get out of hand and that Americans here at home and overseas remain safe. But what are your thoughts on all this? Make sure you guys share your thoughts down below. And before I go, I just want to thank you guys for dropping a like for the video. Thank you for your time. Please keep safe. I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.